What's going on, everyone? James Hancock here. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. I am back to review the latest film in the DC Extended Universe, Shazam, starring Zachary Levi. After the runaway success of Aquaman a few months ago, the future's looking potentially much brighter for Warner Brothers and their vast library of DC-based superheroes. But ever since I first saw the trailer for Shazam last summer, I've had some reservations about how this film would fit in with the rest of the established continuity. While Aquaman was colorful and otherworldly, it still felt like a part of the same tapestry as the other films in the franchise. Shazam is exactly what it looks like in the trailer. The movie's light, it's colorful, it's innocent, relatively humorous, and is geared toward a very young sensibility. They basically took Big, starring Tom Hanks, and updated the formula with one of the oldest characters in comic book history. For people who don't know, back in the 1940s, the Big Red Cheese, aka Captain Marvel as he was called back then, don't tell Brie Larson, but this character was so popular that for a brief time, his comics actually outsold those featuring Superman. I can't claim to be a complete expert on his history, but I have read a ton of comics featuring the character. Some of my favorite examples would be Mark Waid's Kingdom Come, Giffen, DeMatteis, and Maguire's classic run on Justice League, as well as Grant Morrison's run on Justice League, which came about a decade later. He's a great character in that he has the perspective and experience of a kid combined with the power of a god. I mean, he's up there on Superman's level. Or to be specific, he has the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, the stamina of Atlas, the power of Zeus, the courage of Achilles, and the speed of Mercury, all of which make up the acronym Shazam. The movie's basically your run-of-the-mill origin story where both Billy Batson, played by Asher Angel, as well as his archenemy, Dr. Sivana, played by Mark Strong, they gain their powers at roughly the same time and inevitably clash over who's going to have the power of Shazam and have control over the Rock of Eternity. The 7 deadly sins have been at odds with the wizard Shazam and his now dead Council of Wizards for a very long time, and both sides need a champion in order to carry on their work. What I liked most was seeing young Billy Batson learning a few hard lessons about what it means to be a hero, as well as the value of family before he can become the hero that we all know that he will become. Mark Strong isn't necessarily given the world's most sophisticated dialogue, but he does give it his all nonetheless. Personally, I much prefer seeing him in movies like Kingsman: The Secret Service, or as the villain in Kick-Ass, where he talks about ripping people's lungs out through their ass. But that movie obviously is going after a much edgier audience. This was actually the first time I've seen Zachary Levi in anything, and I have to admit, I could easily watch him in a few more movies with him in the role, but I much prefer to see him interacting with some other characters in the DCEU in a less kid-friendly vehicle. But I can't emphasize this enough, this is a kids movie. Some haters might say, well, all superhero movies are kids movies, and they might be right to a degree, but this one is really a movie for young kids. At one point I saw an entire row of kids who could barely walk erupt in a standing ovation for a particular scene. Now, this is a bit of a spoiler, so jump out now if you actually care, but when Batson learns how to share his power with his foster siblings and create the Marvel family, the kids in the theater just went completely fucking berserk. For my taste, the film suddenly resembled the Power Rangers just a little bit too much, but for a certain age group and for a certain sensibility, they're going to absolutely adore it. For my money, give me a hard R superhero flick like Logan any day, or if you're going to go PG-13, give me Captain America: Civil War. How this movie ever got a PG-13 rating is beyond me. It should be rated G. I would feel totally, completely comfortable taking all my nieces and nephews to see this, and they're all between the ages of 0 and 6. The big question moving forward is to what degree Warner Brothers will value the connectivity between all of their DC properties. Every Marvel movie is a license to print money because they each represent the next chapter. So no matter how good or bad the Marvel movies are, no Marvel fan skips them. They've got a lot of goodwill in the bank because they know at least every 3 or 4 Marvel movies, one of them is going to be sensational. And for a while, Kevin Tsujihara from Warner Brothers seemed to be leaning towards only marginal connectivity between all their DC movies. Like, it's just becoming too complicated trying to make them all work together. But if you've been paying attention to current events, Tsujihara stepped down this past week, so who knows what the future strategy might be for the DC Extended Universe. I've been saying for years that DC desperately needs a hand on the tiller to bring all these properties together for a cohesive vision, but to date, that person really has failed to emerge, or at least they've failed to emerge in a post-Zack Snyder era. And let's be honest, while Zack Snyder was more or less in charge of the direction of the DC Universe, he was doing so as a director. What the DC Extended Universe really needs is a great producer who can bring together all these different dynamic voices to really flesh out this universe and make it grow. I would absolutely love to see the DC Universe continue to thrive, and I do have high hopes in the future for the Matt Reeves Batman movie, as well as James Gunn's Suicide Squad sequel. And if you stick around for the post-credits scene in Shazam, we have reason to hope that Supes and Shazam might team up or fight sometime in the near future. But for now, if you want to see the two of them in action, read Kingdom Come. It's an absolute masterpiece. But I think that's about all I have to say on this particular movie. So if you want to talk about comics, the best place to reach me is always on Twitter at Colbrax. There's a link in the description below. But if you enjoyed this review, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would really appreciate it. But I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their weekend. Can't thank you enough for watching my video. I really appreciate it. But more importantly, as always, onwards and upwards.